श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलम् श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशधारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतुषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौरङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरोर्भ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा। So studying chapter 15 of Bhagavad-Gita as it is. In chapter 15, we are looking at verse 8 today. So far, we have studied till verse number 7, where Krishna told Arjuna about every living entity being a part and parcel of him. Mamai vamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. And then they are struggling in this material creation. Mana shashthani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. Krishna is not happy that they are struggling. In fact, Krishna invited them to come back to his abode. That was explained in verse 5. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha dvandver vimukte sukha dukkha sange kachante moola padamapyayam tat. She already mentioned that there is a place, na tad bhasate suryo na shashanko na pavakaha, and how to reach there. And why should one desire to go there? So that also is explained, right? Why should one desire to go there? That is also provided here. So further now, in this struggle which the living entity goes through, uh, this struggle one, this struggle is being explained. What is that struggle? Uh, how is that a struggle? That is being clarified here by Lord Krishna. He is explaining that. So let's look at verse number 8. Shariram yat avapnoti yachap yutkramatishvaraha grihitvaita nisayati vayur gandhan ivashayat. The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another. as the air carries aromas. Thus, he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. So, this is a struggle. Of course, when we read it, we may not understand how is this a struggle. But actually, if you look at it very deeply, it is a struggle to be born again, to die again, to do all those things which you are doing in life. It's a struggle. It's boring. There's no fun in it. Hmm? So um, this struggle is painful. Moving around in this material world from one species to another species, always in fear of existence. You know. So Krishna says this struggle is happening because the living entity is not in the spiritual world. He is in the material world. And in material world, the struggle will continue. Why don't people see it as a struggle? Because their perception of reality is covered by Maya, illusion. So then to them it appears as something very, interesting and very um, joyful, or maybe at least an adventure that I'm getting to live. But living in material world compared to living in spiritual world is a big struggle. Purport. Here the living entity is described as Ishvara, the controller of his own body. If he likes, he can change his body to a higher grade, or if he likes, he can move to a lower class. So that is again very interesting. As per our karma, we get a different body, and that body is either a promotion from the present state or it's a demotion from the present state. Right? So it's either a promotion or a demotion. And that happens based on our desires and our actions. At the time of death, minute independence is there. The change his body undergoes depends upon him. At the time of death, the consciousness he has created will carry him onto the next type of body. Hmm. If he has made his consciousness like that of a cat or dog, he is sure to change to a cat's or dog's body. And if he has fixed his consciousness on godly qualities, he will change into the form of a demigod. And if he is in Krishna consciousness, he'll be transferred to Krishna Loka in the spiritual world and will associate with Krishna. It is a false claim that after the annihilation of this body, everything is finished. The individual soul is transmigrating from one body to another, and his present body and present activities are the background of his next body. One gets a different body according to karma, and he has to quit this body in due course. It is stated here that the subtle body, uh, which carries the conception of the next body, develops another body in the next life. This process of transmigrating from one body to another and struggling while in the body is called karshati, or struggle for existence. So this is the struggle to move from one body to another body. It's a big struggle. And this is because of our karma. So we go on engaging in karma, making new and new karma, and then new and new karma produces new and new body. And this goes on and on and on. Shrotram chakshuhu sparshanam cha rasanam grahanam eva cha adhisthaya manaschayam vishayan upasevate. The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. So, based on the karma, he is given a certain kind of senses. I mean, the look of the senses, the way they appear physically is different. The way they function is also different. Their capacity is also different. Just like the eyes of a monkey are not the same as the eyes of a human, and they are not the same as the eyes of an elephant, mm, which are not the same as the eyes of a cat or an owl, right? So they all do the work of seeing, but how much they can see, what they can see, it's all different. So one gets a certain type of sense objects, senses. So I have a body, and this body has a set of senses. These senses, they have their individual capacity, and that capacity will depend a lot on my karma. So see, there are some people whose eyes are very sharp, which means they can look for far distance. Um, and there are some people who have poor eyesight. So what is this? It's basically karma. The instrument is there, but the capacity of the instrument is not the same. Similarly, some people have a very sensitive nose. Some people have very, very, very sensitive tongue. Some people have very sharp ears. Sharp ears means what? That um, they are very attentive to sound around them. They can hear very, very clearly. And some people, they have very congested ears. So you have to repeat one thing many times, then only they hear it. Mm. So like that, different entities have different set of senses, and these senses have their own capacity to interact with the world, right? These are grouped about the mind. So then he thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. So based on the kind of senses given to me, then I'll naturally be attracted, or rather I should say the senses will be attracted to a certain kind of sense objects. So the food of a dog is of one kind, and the food of humans is of another kind. Now, a human being will not get attracted to the food of dog, and a dog will not always get attracted to the food of human being. Why? Because the senses are different, and therefore the attraction for the sense objects is also different. Hmm. So to go beyond the bodily concept of life also means that what is bodily concept of life? Bodily concept of life is I am this body, I am these senses, and whatever I am doing in life should be to fulfill the desire of these senses or the interest of these senses. My eyes want something, my ears want something, my nose wants something, my skin wants something, my tongue wants something, and I should provide it to them. So this kind of engagement is material activity, because I am doing what? I am just taking care of the needs of the senses. You know, and the senses have a fixed set of needs based on the quality and nature of the senses. So most of the people are struggling to fulfill those needs. To rise above bodily concept of life means to rise above these needs of the senses. You know, then that means to rise above the bodily concept of life. That my senses demand, but I am not affected by those demands. So let's read this purport. Arati Mataji, go ahead. Please read.
Hare Krishna, sorry, Prabhu. Yeah, Prabhu, 9, Shloka 9, right?
You are seeing it on the screen.
Yeah, 1 second. In other words, if the living entity, if the living entity adulterates his consciousness with the qualities of cats and dogs, in his next life he gets a cat or dog body and enjoys. Consciousness is originally pure like water, but if we mix water with a certain color, it changes. Similarly, consciousness is pure, for the spirit soul is pure. But consciousness is changed according to the association of the material qualities. Real consciousness is Krishna consciousness. When, therefore, one is situated in Krishna consciousness, he is in his pure life. But if his consciousness is adulterated by some type of material mentality, in the next life, he gets a corresponding body. He does not necessarily get a human body again. He can get the body of a cat, dog, hog, demigod, or one of the many other forms. For there are 8 lakh 400 thousand species. Thank you.
Yes. So based on the consciousness, we get the transfer from one body to another body. And who will decide what's the next body? So the providence will decide. Yamaraj is appointed for that. He will decide what should be my next body. Next verse 10.
Uh,
Ukramantam sitam vapi bhunjanam va gunanvitam vimoolananupashyanti pashyanti jnana chakshushaha. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. So the next verse, this verse is very important because it talks about the plight of conditioned soul. A foolish person does not understand all this. How do the bodies change? How do people enjoy their bodies? They are not able to see all this. Hmm. They think whatever is happening, it's all normal, nothing much to worry about. But actually, it's not like that. A person in knowledge can see that. So they neither see how they enjoy the body, nor they can understand what sort of body they will get after quitting this body. Mm. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. So every species has a behavioral pattern. Like cows, they behave in a certain manner, goats in a certain manner, dogs in a certain manner, pigs in a certain manner, which means they have their psychology. So if a particular human being behaves in any of these types of psychology, and you understand what that psychology is, then you can perceive that person's future. Where is that person going? What is going to happen to that person? Hmm? So this can be seen by knowledge. One can actually see it. I remember once I was in Mauritius. So a devotee, he took me to a walk on a beach. It was post noon time, afternoon time, and the beach was quite clean. It was empty. So we were walking and talking about something. We were discussing some subjects. So that time I noticed just on the beach there was a man and a woman, very elderly, maybe in their 60s, and they were lying in the water, upside down, with the belly in the bottom and the back at the top. And the way they were lying in the water, I mean, you could actually imagine a big fish, there. The way they were lying in the water, you could actually imagine a big fish there. So I asked that devotee, Prabhu, if you look at these two people from far, will you identify them as a human being? So he said, no, from far, maybe I'll just see them as a fish, a big fish in the water. So then I told him that's what they will become then, you know, because that's how they are behaving. What they're doing, that's going to produce their next body. Mm. Because they are trying to live life like a fish. So that's what they get. So this is how subtle it is, but it works. And if you are good in this understanding, then you can look at any person, look at the behavior of that person, how that person talks, walks, behaves, and all that. And you can really actually ascertain what that person is going to become in future. What is the destiny of that person? Where is that person heading? Human birth, animal birth, demigod birth, no birth. It is possible to look at by looking at the symptoms or characteristics of a person. Mm. So here it said, but those who are foolish, they cannot understand all this, how one quits one's body, what sort of body we enjoy, But ones whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all of this. Hmm. Purport. Yes, Sankarshan Vishnu Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. The word Gyan Chakshusah is very significant. Without knowledge, one cannot understand how a living entity leaves its present body or what form of body is going to take in the next life, nor even why he is living in a particular body. This requires a great amount of knowledge understood from Bhagavad-Gita and similar literature heard from a bona fide spiritual master. One who is trained to perceive all these things is fortunate. Even living entity is quitting this body under certain circumstances. He is living under certain circumstances and he is enjoying under certain circumstances under the spell of material life. As a result, he is suffering different kinds of happiness and distress under the illusion of the sense enjoyment. Persons who are everlastingly fooled by lust and desire lose all power to understand their change of body and their stay in a particular body. They cannot comprehend it. Those who have developed spiritual knowledge, however, can see that the spirit is different from the body and is changing its body and enjoying in different ways. A person in such a knowledge can understand how the conditioned living entity is suffering in the material existence. Therefore, those who are highly developed in Krishna consciousness try their best to give this knowledge to the people in general. For this conditional life is very for their conditional life is very much troublesome. They should come out of it and by Krishna conscious and liberate themselves to transfer to the spiritual world. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Next verse, 11.
Prabhu, uh,
Hmm.
uh, do we need to take many births for liberation?
Depends on the person.
Or
Depends on the person.
who can get liberated? If I feel I don't want to continue more in this life or next lives, uh,
Then,
I,
then you
I,
should be free of all material desires.
yeah, it in between keeps on popping, but I feel there is misery only.
That is true. But let's say if Krishna puts you in a situation which is not having miseries, then at that time, what will happen?
That time I will be happy.
So
Then
then,
again Maya
so
will slap me and pull me down.
not necessarily. It one thing is, I'm feeling that this world is full of suffering because my situation is like that. So that knowledge is not realized knowledge. That knowledge is basically only a temporary experience. It's called Falgu Vairagya. It comes because there's too many problems in life. So
No,
then Krishna will test us. He'll give good things also in life to us at some time. And then when those good things come in life, then how much interest you have in Krishna consciousness? That he will see, that he will check.
no, but by all the bad phases, we have realized who is Krishna and Guru
You have not
important.
realized yet. That is a very big thing to say. I have realized who is Krishna, who is Guru.
At least I know
Yeah, so that not
about
that knowing is not sufficient. No, that's what I'm trying to say. That is only theoretical knowledge. So how much time it will take to become liberated, that Krishna will decide based on your state of consciousness. And that state of consciousness is not calculated from your present state of consciousness. That will be evaluated over a long span of time, how you are. Because today one might be thinking like this, after 5 years, one may change one's way of thinking. After 20 years, it might change.
But if I feel like this is a vicious circle, I feel that every time this will
Why
come
don't you
good.
try to understand, Shweta Mataji? What you're feeling, is that feeling not influenced by three modes of material nature? So when this influence of three modes changes, then your feeling will change. So when that feeling changes, then you will not feel like this. Therefore, this knowledge which you will say that we have realized this, we have realized that, you should not forget this one point. This realization becomes mature over a period of time. Otherwise, it's a very, very shallow or superficial realization. It's just like a tree. A tree which doesn't have deep roots will fall whenever a storm comes. But for the tree to have deep roots, it takes time. Similarly, we hear something in the class or some thought comes to our mind, and then we think this is now my realization. That is not a realization. For that realization to become deeply rooted in our consciousness, it will take time.
I I'm not saying
Now,
because of class. Mm.
so that time, it may be one life for you, it may be 10 lives for you. And how much it is going to be, that time will show. That time will show. You can't say now. Because when the test of Maya will come, now you may say, okay, I'm prepared for it. But when that test of Maya comes, whether you are prepared for it or not, you pass or you fail, that time will only tell now. At the present moment, you may say, I am very much prepared now. I have understood the reality of this material world. But let's say when that time comes, let's say Krishna makes you in some life a very, very beautiful woman or a queen, you know, and then you have a lot of wealth and a very nice husband and all that. And then at that time, in that situation, will you still feel really that this material world is miserable and I want to go back to Krishna? So that test, when Krishna will give us, whether we pass or not, that will decide, isn't it? Now, at the moment, I may say I'm prepared. I'm okay. I'm done with it. But when that test will come, then how much you are prepared, that will be seen, right? So, and those tests will come. They will keep on coming in life. And that will be a self check, that how much actually I'm rooted in this realization, right? Therefore, the main point which we have to really put it in our head, especially for you, that it takes time. So be patient and do the hard work. You know, don't think about the result too much. Do the hard work. And that is what our dharma is. That's what Krishna is teaching in Bhagavad Gita. You put your efforts and let me decide when I want to give you the result. Don't think too much about when the result is going to come. How is it going to come? That's not my job. That is Krishna's job. I have to think about how I can sincerely chant, how I can sincerely serve, how I can sincerely do sadhana bhakti, how I can sincerely try to get rid of my anarthas. We should focus more on that, not on when will I get the result, will it happen or not happen, how it will happen, how much time it will take. That is not my job. That is Krishna's job to decide, no? Mhm. And he is supremely independent. Even if, let's say, you are a very good devotee, he may not want to give you the success in one lifetime. That's his choice now. Because he's independent. He's Bhagavan, he's free. So this is a very hard point to understand for many of us. And the reason for that is a few days ago, I was discussing with one very senior scholarly person, and he was telling me that 50 years ago or 100 years ago, people, they understood the relationship between servant and master, you know, and you saw that servant master relationship culture in all the areas of life. Like, for example, in the family, within the family also, there was a strong servant master relationship between a younger brother and elder brother, or the kids and the parents, or the husband and the wife, you know. And that same strong culture was also there in the professional area. If you are an employer, then the employee will certainly feel I am a servant and my employer is a master. Hmm? Same thing with uh, the citizen feeling like for the king. But over the years, what has happened? This attitude of servant master has basically gone, you know, in completely, it's lost now. Now people don't want that kind of relationship. Now it has become more of you me are equal. Just because of some reasons you are sitting on the seat and you are in a higher position, but actually you and me, there's not much difference. You know, same thing you see in all relationship, even husband wife relationship, men and women, they're competing with each other. We want to be equal, equal rights, you know. Same thing, you'll find even amongst brothers, there's no respect for the elder brother by the younger brother. Sometimes younger brother will say, because I'm earning more than you, who are you to demand respect from me? Mm, right. You'll see the same in relationship between parents and kids. If the kids become more successful than the parents, then the kids, they tell the parents that, you know, we know better how to live life, we know better how to do things. And forget about the work culture. In work culture, no one really considers the boss as master. That is forceful acceptance. No. Correct. So more interest has come in what kind of relationship? Equality should be there. If you think deeply about it, this attitude doesn't go well with the attitude of bhakti. Because in bhakti, Krishna is supreme autocrat. We understand the meaning of word autocrat. Krishna is autocrat. And we are very, very insignificant uh, servants of Krishna. So that that relationship has this particular mood that uh, he is independent. I can't force him for anything. I can't demand. I can't expect. I can only depend on him. And if he likes, he will give. If he doesn't like, he'll not give. But you know, this thing people of modern times cannot digest because that servant master relationship, they don't understand. Yeah. It doesn't get into the head because there's no either experience of that relationship or there's no appreciation for that relationship. It's more of I do something for you. So what's the incentive? What am I getting in return? But with that attitude, we cannot understand bhakti. We cannot understand Bhagavan. We cannot understand bhakta. We cannot understand devotional service. Mm. So bhakti is, it's not wrong to say it is transcendental slavery. It's transcendental slavery. If you hate the word slave, then forget about going back home, back to God. It is transcendental slavery. You know, I am a slave of Krishna and Krishna's pure devotees. But that slavery gives highest joy. It's not that you are a slave, so you suffer so much. No, it gives highest joy. That dependence gives highest joy. And this happiness cannot be experienced by a person who is independent in nature. If you have in your whole life lived in a way that you have been an independent person, then you cannot understand bhakti because bhakti is a science of dependence. But people don't understand dependence nowadays. You know why? Because I'm educated, I have a big job, I can earn my own money, I know everything what to do in this life, in this world. I don't need anyone. If I need someone, I can buy that relationship with money or whatever I can do. So where is dependence? There is no dependence. Because one thing is I can do everything. Where's the question of dependence? Mhm. But that attitude, it's difficult to overcome. But one thing is also there. With that attitude, we cannot understand bhakti. So therefore, all these questions will come when, how much time, this and that. You know. But if we,
Dependence,
sorry,
dependence, dependence on what by dependence means?
dependence means that you don't have a separate mentality and you don't consider yourself capable of doing anything without Krishna's mercy and support,
Okay.
which means you won't desire anything which Krishna doesn't want. You will not feel yourself as a separate entity, right? So that is like being completely in sync, in unison, in unity with Krishna, and Krishna's pure devotees. So that kind of surrender is expected by Krishna, and you should personally see if you are surrendered to that extent. If yes, then you can think of maybe Krishna will take me back home, back to Godhead someday. But until and unless that kind of dependence comes on Krishna, surrender comes on Krishna, then just to sit and think how and when I'll go back home, back to God, it's not going to work like that. So we should do the work on ourselves, and then this process will also give us the result. Otherwise, liberation is not an easy thing. Hmm? It is said of so many karmis, millions and millions of karmis, one is jnani. Of so many millions and millions of jnanis, one is a mukta jeev, liberated soul. And of so many liberated souls, there is one pure devotee of Krishna. Hmm. So it's a very, very um, high attainment, no? It's the highest attainment. Fine, so let's go to next verse 11.
The conclusion is this, Prabhuji, that one can know where he or she will go, whether by his actions,
By his actions, by his desires.
by his desires. One can
Yes,
know where he or she will go.
yes,
For example,
definitely.
someone is aged in the house and he or she can do only his regular activities, and in the front of the altar she cries and pray to God that please take me back. It means
That's
what?
not going to help, Prabhuji.
This is conditional only.
This is not going to help.
It is only
We
conditional.
should know that what we are doing externally, it's not going to help. It all depends on what is our state of consciousness inside, and that Krishna knows. Externally, someone is crying, someone is doing this, doing that. That is not that will tell you what that person is actually. Yesterday in Sri Bhakti Aloka, we were studying. So there is an incident in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There was a person called Ramadas Vishwas. So it's mentioned that he was 24 hours chanting the names of Lord Ram, 24 hours incessantly without stopping. And he was such a gentle person, such cultured person, that on the way to Jagannath Puri, he happened to meet Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, who is one of the six Goswamis. So when he met Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, he approached Raghunath Bhatt Goswami and he said that, I want to serve you. So Raghunath Bhatt, being a devotee, said, no, I don't want to take seva from you. You can just accompany me. Let's walk together to Jagannath Puri. He said, no, you are a Brahmana. I am a fallen person. I must do seva to you. And then he started doing all the menial things for Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, carrying his luggage, massaging his feet. Will you find such a person at present times? No, this requires so much of humility to do seva to others in this manner, correct? Isn't it? So he was voluntarily doing all this to Raghunath Bhatt Goswami. And he was praising him that you are a Brahmana, you are an exalted person. I should do seva to you. That will give me so much of benefit. And for the whole trip to Jagannath Puri, he did such nice seva to Raghunath Bhatt Goswami. So when they reached Jagannath Puri, mm, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced him, welcomed him, and was very happy to meet him. But when the Ramadas Vishwas, he met Sri Chaitanya did not even look at him. So a question arises, isn't it? Why did Mahaprabhu neglect him? He is chanting names of Krishna throughout the day. He is doing such nice seva to other people. But why is Mahaprabhu not even acknowledging his presence? So Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami says, because Mahaprabhu knew his heart. What was in his heart that Mahaprabhu saw. And what did Mahaprabhu see? That though externally he is chanting Ram Nam, he is doing all this, but inside his heart, he is an impersonalist. He wants to merge with Brahman. He wants to become one with God, merge in Brahman. And so Mahaprabhu, he neglected him that I don't care, I don't have any interest in you because your desire is, your intention is very, very wrong. It's not a devotee's desire. Externally, your deeds are like that of a devotee, but your mind and your heart is not like that. So externally, how people appear, that's a different thing. Therefore, how pure I am, for that, I have to just look at my heart, my mind. When anything happens in my life, in others' life, how do I respond? How do I react? What goes in my mind? You know. So if we have become pure, the way the Vrajvasis are, the way the Vaikuntha-vasis are, we can feel like them, we can think like them, then we will go back to Godhead. How they think, how they feel. Look at Srila Prabhupada. He is driving in a car and he is seeing that some people, they are sitting on the road corner, roadside, and they are poor, they are hungry, they are begging for stuff from people. And Srila Prabhupada looking at them, he just spontaneously starts crying, overwhelmed with compassion. And he's saying, people are suffering so much in this world because they don't have Krishna consciousness. So if we become like that, genuinely, then we can go back to Godhead. But that's not the state of our mind now. Our present state is what? We are only worried about our own problems. We can't go beyond that. There's worry, there's so much of anxiety, but it's about what? My money, my house, my family, my health, my physical body, my this, my that. It all revolves around me. And me also in what sense? Material sense. Isn't it? Forget about people who are not devotees. Of course, this may sound very strong and harsh. But even for devotees who are practicing, initiated devotees, you go and talk to them and you ask them, what will they talk about? Mostly. This problem is there, that problem is there. Because of this, I'm not able to chant Hare Krishna. Because of this, I'm not able to study books. Because of this, I'm not able to do this, that, this material thing, that material thing. So, do we think that such things are going to end anytime? These problems will ever end. Where even if you become the king of heaven, problems will end.
No, Prabhuji.
Huh? Let's say Krishna gives you everything that you want materially. Will your problems end?
No.
So people who are thinking that one day will come when I'll be over with all these problems and then I'll become a nice devotee of Krishna, forget it. That day is not going to come. If I have to become a nice devotee of Krishna, I have to do it today itself. So you ask most of the devotees, talk to them, what is their complaint, what is it going on in their mind. All mostly are worried about material problems, personal problems. That state of
Okay.
mind, do you think one can go back home back to God? It's not possible, Prabhu, right? So we have to, that's why we are studying these scriptures thoroughly to understand the process, to understand where we are, to understand the goal and how to get there. You know, we have to become very clear about it and not remain in any kind of illusion, right? So it's going back home back to Godhead is not an easy thing. It's just that because we are not so qualified, so it is presented to us in a way which is very easy, at least so that we can give a try to it. At least we'll try. Okay, let me try chanting the names of Krishna. Let me try studying the scriptures. Let me try all this, you know. But actually, if you want to know about bhakti, what it is, then Krishna says, no, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na Shochita na Kankshati Samasarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labate Para. You have to be Brahma Bhuta, which is a very high state, you know. And present times, people are so worried about their personal problems. How will they go back to Godhead?
What is Brahmbhuta?
Brahma Bhuta is liberated. No hankering, no lamentation. You are not sad about anything, and you're not excited about anything. Your mind is peaceful, intelligence is fixed, right? So therefore,
Brahma Bhut and Abrahma Bhunan Loka, these are two different.
Abrahma Bhuvanal Loka is a different shloka that talks about,
Brahmlok from downwards,
yeah, from topmost to bottommost.
and then Brahm Bhut
Brahma Bhut means liberated state.
means above Brahm, means
Means Ava Brahma Loka also.
above Brahmloka, above Brahmloka. It is a initial dividing part. Brahm is a dividing portion. You can above Brahm and below Brahm, na?
Hmm.
Like that we can say.
Oh, correct. That's like the border, the border area
Border area.
between spiritual world and material world. Hmm. Spiritual planets and material planets. Yes, Brahma Bhuta is opposite of Jiva Bhuta. So therefore, of course, there is no need to be disappointed. And again, this disappointment comes because we don't understand the servant-master relationship. You know, if let's say you become disappointed by hearing, oh, it's so tough to go back to God, and it will take so much time, then again you don't understand the servant-master relationship. Because servant-master relationship is what? Okay, it's going to take time. No problem. Krishna is Supreme Master. He is my Supreme Well-wisher. If Krishna wants to call me after 10 lifetimes, no problem. I'll wait for that time to come. Just like Mukunda in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you have heard, right? When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told that Mukunda is associating with Mayavadis, I don't want to see his face. You know, for even millions of lifetimes, he'll not get freedom from material life, and he'll not come back to me. So on hearing this statement, what was expected? Most of the people, they thought Mukunda will now cry, fall at the feet of Mahaprabhu, and then say that, no, 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 why give me such a big punishment? I have to wait for such a long time. But on the contrary, what does Mukunda do? He starts jumping, celebrating. And Mahaprabhu said, why are you so happy? I actually give you such a, heavy curse that you are going to be in this material world for such a long time. And what did Mukunda say? He said, actually, I did a mistake for which I didn't even expect for you to take me back home. But at least you have agreed to take me after millions of lifetimes. That itself is such a big thing. So I'm happy about it. I'm celebrating it. Uh, So you can see the difference between attitude. Here, this person is grateful about even getting this, allowance. After millions of lifetimes, you'll come back home, back to God. He's grateful for it. He's happy. He's celebrating. But the attitude of people of present times would be, oh, millions of lifetimes. Forget, I don't want a God like that. I don't want Golok Dham. I am happy here itself.
So there is a story that one devotee tried for the suicide also. I don't remember the name.
In
Tried.
Chaitanya Charitamrita,
Yeah.
Sanatan Goswami.
Uh,
Hmm?
Haridas.
Sanatan Goswami, he tried for it. Then Mahaprabhu said, you can't get me by just committing suicide. Right? So that's why we have to work on this seriously. Try to understand this, that servant master relationship. It should get into our head. If we don't understand it, then bhakti is still going to remain a mystery for us. Because this is not bhakti. Putting a tilak, wearing a kantimala, chanting names of Krishna, wearing that dress of a Vaishnava, sometimes going to dham, sometimes being in devotees association, honoring prasadam and all that. This is nice, this is good, but this can be imitated.
you have used the word sadhak.
This can be imitated. This can be copied. Right?
Yeah, the
So
sadhak only.
that doesn't make one a devotee, right? This can be very easily copied. So being a devotee means our inner consciousness, our way of thinking should change. That's what will make us a devotee. Therefore, this is very important. You want to know what devotion is, then read the lives, study the lives of devotees, hear about their characteristics. Then we'll understand what bhakti is. you know, Because then we'll get a glimpse of how they feel, how they think, how they behave, how they act in situations, right? And then we can compare ourselves, isn't it? Where am I? Where am I? Uh, Where am I? I'm still I'm still going around with my petty problems. This is not there, that is not there, this problem, that problem, you know. Then where am I? I'm not a devotee. That's very important. Okay, let's read the purport. The translation. The endeavoring transcendentalists who are situated in self-realization can see all this clearly. But those whose minds are not developed and who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try. Hmm. So this is there, as we said earlier, we have gotten a certain kind of senses, and within the senses comes mind also. So how much we can understand? It also depends on our karma. Same Bhagavad-Gita, same verse, same purport. How much we will understand? It depends on our karma, on the nature of of our mind, how our intelligence functions, you know, right? So all that has to be, what do you say, transcended. And that transcendence process is sadhana bhakti, which should be done in the right attitude. Otherwise, it's not possible. Let's read the purport. Abhinay Prabhuji, please read. Ab Abhay Prabhu, sorry. Abhay Prabhu, please read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. There are many transcendentalists on the path of spiritual self-realization, but one who is not situated in self-realization cannot see how things are changing in the body of the living entity. The word yogina is significant in this connection. In the present day, there are many so-called yogis, and there are many so-called associations of yogis, but they are actually blind in the matter of self-realization. They are simply addicted to some sort of gymnastic exercise and are satisfied if the body is well built and healthy. They have no other information. They are called yatanto pi akre akrat mana. Even though they are endeavoring in a so-called yoga system, they are not self-realized. Such people cannot understand the process of transmigration of the soul. Only those who are actually in the yoga system and have realized the self, the world, and the Supreme Lord, in other words, the Bhakti yogis, those engaged in pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness, can understand how things are taking place. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Text 12. So now Arjuna may tell Krishna, my dear Lord, you are the Supreme Master, controller, well-wisher of all the living entities. And you have explained here that the living entities are struggling in this material world. So don't you help them out? Don't you do anything for them so that they can come out of the struggle? Because after all, it all depends on your mercy. So Krishna says, of course, I do help. I help in many ways. I help them when they are in the material world. I also help them come out of material world. So I'm always there to help them. So in verses 12, 13, 14, and 15, Krishna will explain how he helps, how he facilitates the activities of the living entities. So in verse 12 he says, Yad adityagatam tejo jagad bhasayate khilam yad chandramasi yad chagno tat tejo vidhimamakam. The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me. And the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me. Hmm? So we know we depend so much on sunlight and moonlight for life. Life is not possible without these facilities given by Krishna. So he says it all comes from me. I give the moon light, I give the sunlight. They are the source of energy, and that energy is very much needed, isn't it? Now we depend so much on sun. Practically, the entire energy system we have, whether it is natural resources like hydroelectric dams, getting electricity from water, or it is from products having carbon like coal, oil, gas, all these things, the energy they get is basically a transformation of the solar energy, you know, is coming from the sun, right? So so the consumption of energy that we do for cooking, for warming things, for producing things, factories they run on heat, fire, fuel, all that comes from sun. So Krishna says, I'm maintaining their life. I'm providing all this to them. Mm. Without this, it will not function, right? Now India is facing this crisis. No gas supply, oil supply from Middle East. Mm. So who is giving all that? Krishna is providing. So purport. Let's read the purport. Sanjay Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. The unintelligent cannot understand how things are taking place, but one can begin to be established in knowledge by understanding what the Lord explains here. Everyone sees the sun, moon, fire, and electricity. One should simply try to understand that the splendor of the sun, the splendor of the moon, and the splendor of the electricity or fire are coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In such a conception of life, the beginning of Krishna consciousness lies a great deal of advancement for the conditioned soul in this material world. The living entities are essentially the parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, and He is giving herewith the hint how they can come back to Godhead, back to home. From this verse, we can understand that the sun is illuminating the whole solar system. There are different universes and solar systems, and there are different suns, moons, and planets also. But in each universe, there is only one sun. As stated in Bhagavad-Gita 10.21, the moon is one of the stars. Nakshatra aham sasi. Sunlight is due to the spiritual effulgence of the spiritual sky of the Supreme Lord. With the rise of sun, the activities of human beings are set up. They set fire to prepare their foodstuff. They set fire to start the factories, etc. So many things are done with the help of fire. Therefore, sunrise, fire, and moonlight are so pleasing to the living entities. Without the help, no living entities can live. So, if one can understand that the light and splendor of sun, moon, and fire emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, then one's Krishna consciousness will begin. By the moonshine, all the vegetables are nourished. The moonshine is so pleasing that the people can easily understand that they are living by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Without His mercy, there cannot be sun. Without His mercy, there cannot be moon. And without His mercy, there cannot be fire. And without the help of sun, moon, and fire, no one can live. There are some thoughts to provoke Krishna consciousness in the conditioned soul. Hare Krishna.
Yes. So these are some thoughts to provoke Krishna consciousness in the conditioned soul. That we are getting all this by mercy of Krishna. And people, they behaved with this knowledge earlier. I remember now in India, electricity is very much available. Like in big cities, there is no power cut. Mostly, correct? There is 24-hour supply of electricity. Perhaps in some villages or small places, still electricity is not available 24 hours. Mhm. When you go 20, 30 years back, then electricity was a problem in India. In many places, there used to be power cut, especially in small towns, villages, right? Power cut was there, very common phenomenon. So I remember uh, when we were small kids, that time in the evening, every day. Nowadays, because the proper sunlight doesn't enter in all the apartments, people have lights on throughout the day, correct? But earlier, people had houses constructed in a way that there'll be proper sunlight during the daytime. So they hardly used electricity for lighting up rooms in the daytime. In the evening, only they'll switch on the light when it gets dark, right? So I remember that we had a certain time. Okay, at this time, the lights in the house should be switched on when it gets dark. So we would be sitting in the shop, and as it's getting dark, so my grandfather would say to the servant in the house, switch on the lights. So that person will switch on the light. And as soon as the light will go on, I have seen it personally from my eyes. My grandfather would fold his hands and say, Jai Shri Ram, you know, like that. So what was that? This light is given by Krishna. We should thank him for it. Mhm. So these things were very common practices amongst people. They saw things in that way. And this light is Bhagwan's energy, you know. But how times have changed. Now will you see someone doing like that? What?
Yes,
It's
Prabhupada.
like normal thing. Mhm. Correct? So this is what is being mentioned here in the purport. It is coming from Krishna. It's coming from Krishna, whatever we are getting. Hmm? But we think what? No, no, it's coming from my hard work. I do hard work, I get the salary, then I go to the market, I purchase stuff. So who is doing all this? I'm doing it. God is not doing it. Hmm. It's coming from my hard work. Yeah, it's coming from our hard work, but if Krishna doesn't give, then what will our hard work do? So then moonshine, it nourishes the vegetables. Hmm. The vegetables become tasty, delicious if the moonshine, the moonlight falls on it. Otherwise, the taste will not be there. Hmm. So that is Krishna's mercy. Right, next verse, text 13. Uh, let's go to text 13. Are you able to see the next text? 13? No. Why is it not getting clicked? Gam avishya cha bhutani dharyam yahamojasa pushnami chaushadhi sarvaha somo bhutva rasatmakaha. I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. Again, a very interesting phenomenon. How can such heavy planets float in air? I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. So Krishna is holding everything into place, all the planets and everything. So that is again a wonderful arrangement of Krishna to support life purport. Uh, Neha Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. It is understood that all the planets are floating in the air only by the energy of the Lord. The Lord enters into every atom, every planet, and every living being. That is discussed in the Brahma Samhita. It is said there that one plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, enters into the planets, the universe, the living entity, and even into the atom. So, due to his entrance, everything is appropriately manifested. When the spirit soul is there, a living man can float on the water. But when the living spark is out of the body and the body is dead, the body sinks. Of course, when it is decomposed, it floats just like straw and other things. But as soon as the man is dead, he at once sinks in the water. Similarly, all these planets are floating in space. And this is due to the entrance of the supreme energy of the supreme personality of Godhead. His energy is sustaining each planet, just like a handful of dust. If someone holds a handful of dust, there is no possibility of the dust falling. Prabhuji, could you please scroll? But if one throws it in the air, it will fall down. Similarly, these planets, which are floating in the air, are actually held in the fist of the universal form of the Supreme Lord. By his strength and energy, all moving and non-moving things stay in their place. It is said in the Vedic hymns that because of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sun is shining and the planets are steadily moving. Were it not for him, all the planets would scatter like dust in air and perish. Similarly, it is due to the Supreme Personality of Godhead that the moon nourishes all vegetables. Due to the moon's influence, the vegetables become delicious. Without the moonshine, the vegetables can neither grow nor taste succulent. Human society is working, living comfortably, and enjoying food due to the supply from the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, mankind could not survive. The word rasatmakaha is very significant. Everything becomes palatable by the agency of the Supreme Lord through the influence of the moon. Could you please scroll? And that's Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Next verse. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamashritah Pranapana Samayuktaha Pachami Annam Chaturvidham. I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the four kinds of food stuff. Not only is he helping us to cook the food, because if there is no sun, how can we cook? There is no fire, we cannot cook. So we need fire to cook. Now, once the food is cooked, we put it inside our stomach. We need still some help to get it digested. So that fire, Krishna says, that fire is also me, the fire in the stomach, to digest the food stuff. I'm the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities. And when I join with the air of life, I help digestion. So this is again very interesting. Let's read the purport. Shweta Mataji, read please.
Hare Krishna. According to Ayurvedic Shastra, we understand that there is fire in the stomach which digests all food sent there. When the fire is not blazing, there is no hunger. And when the fire is in order, we become hungry. Sometimes when the fire is not going nicely, treatment is required. In any case, the fire is the representative of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedic mantras Brihad Arankayaka Upanishad 5.9.1. also confirms that the Supreme Lord or Brahman is situated in the form of fire within the stomach and is digesting all kinds of foodstuff. I am Agnir Veshiv Vanaro Yo yam antaha purushe yene dem anaha pachete. Therefore, since he is helping the digestion of all kinds of foodstuff, the living entity is not independent in the eating process. Unless the Supreme Lord helps him in digesting, there is no possibility of eating. He thus produces and digests foodstuffs, and by his grace, we are enjoying life. In the Vedanta Sutra 1.2.27, this is also confirmed. शब्दादादिभ्यः नता प्रातिष्ठनाक्च. The Lord is situated within sound and within the body, within the air, and even within the stomach as the digestive force. There are four kinds of food stuff. Some are drunk, some are chewed, some are licked up, and some are sucked. And He is the digestive force for all of them. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Next verse. Sarvasya chaham hidi sannivishto matah smrite jnanamapohanam cha vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyo vedanta krid vedavid eva chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So here it's being said that Krishna is not only helping us to survive in this material world, but by giving us the knowledge in the form of the Vedas, Krishna is also helping us come out of material existence. So he's helping in both. He's the provider of the knowledge. He's the compiler of Vedanta in the form of Vyasadeva, and he's giving us remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So, on what basis he gives us remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge? On the basis of our karma and our desires. So, on that basis, he gives us remembrance, he gives us knowledge, he gives all that. How moon is helping in nourishing the crops, I don't know scientifically how it happens, but this is what the scriptures say as it happens. Purport. Sarveshwar Jagannath Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. The Supreme Lord is situated as a Paramatma in everyone's heart, and it is from him that all the activities are initiated. The living entity forgets everything of his past life, but he has to act according to the directions of the Supreme Lord, who is witness to all his work. Therefore, he begins his work according to his past deeds. Required knowledge is supplied to him, and remembrance is given to him, and he forgets also about his past life. Thus, the Lord is not only all pervading, he is also localized in every individual heart. He awards the different fruitive results. He is worshipable not only as an impersonal Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the localized Paramatma, but as the form of the incarnation of Vedas as well. The Vedas give the right direction to people so that they can properly mold their lives and come back to Godhead, back to home. The Vedas
Hmm.
offer knowledge to Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and Krishna is his incarnation as Vyasadeva in the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra. The commentation on Vedanta Sutra and Vyasadeva in the Srimad Bhagavatam gives a real understanding of Vedanta Sutra. The Supreme Lord is so full that all the deliverance of the conditioned soul, he is the supplier and digester of the food, the witness of his activity, and the giver of knowledge, and in the form of Vedas, and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the teacher of Bhagavad-Gita. He is the worshipable by the conditioned soul. Thus, God is all good, God is all merciful.
Hmm.
Ananta Ananta
Antaha,
Pravishtas, Antaha
Antaha
Pravishta,
Pravishta.
Satataj Jnanam, the living entity forgets as soon as he quits his present body, but he begins his work again, initiated by the Supreme Lord. Although he forgets, the Lord gave him the intelligence to renew his work where he ended his last life. So not only does a living entity enjoy or suffers in the world according to the dictation from the Supreme Lord, situated locally in the heart, but he receives the opportunity to understand the Vedas from him. If one is serious about understanding the Vedic knowledge, then Krishna gives the required intelligence. Why does he present the Vedic knowledge for understanding? Because a living entity individually needs to understand Krishna. Vedic literature confirms this yoso sarvir Veda Giyate. In all the Vedic literature, beginning from the four Vedas, Vedanta Sutra and Upanishad and Puranas, the glories of Supreme Lord is celebrated. By performance of Vedic rituals, discussion of the Vedic philosophy, and the worship of the Lord in a devotional service. He is attained. Therefore, the purpose of Vedas is to understand Krishna. The Vedas give direction by which to understand the Krishna and the process of realizing him. The ultimate goal is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedanta Sutra 1.1.4. Confirm this in the following words. Tatsu Samvit. One can attain perfection in three stages. By understanding Vedic literature, one can understand his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By performing the different process, one can approach him, and at the end, one can attain the supreme goal, who is no other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this verse, the purpose of Vedas, the understanding of Vedas, and the goal of Vedas are clearly defined. Hare Krishna. Thank
Hmm. Okay, next verse. So after this section gets over, a new section begins where Krishna then summarizes this chapter, also summarizes the entire Vedanta Sutra. It's given in verse 16, 17, and 18. These three verses are known as Vedanta Sar or summary of Vedanta Sutra. So uh, let's read first. Dvav imau purusho loke sharaschakshara eva cha sharah sarvani bhutani kutasto akshara uchyate. There are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living being is fallible. And in the spiritual world, every living entity is infallible, which means fallible means can fall down. So in material world, everyone is fallible. And in spiritual world, everyone is infallible. Mhm. There are these two classes. Purport. As already explained, the Lord in his incarnation as Vyasadeva compiled the Vedanta Sutra. Here the Lord is giving in summary the contents of the Vedanta Sutra. He says that the living entities who are innumerable can be divided into two classes, the fallible and the infallible. The living entities are eternally separated parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When they are in contact with the material world, they are called Jiva Bhuta. And the Sanskrit words given here, Sharaha Sarvani Bhutani, mean that they are fallible. Those who are in oneness with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, are called infallible. Oneness does not mean that they have no individuality, but that there is no disunity. They are all agreeable to the purpose of the creation. Of course, in the spiritual world, there is no such thing as creation, but since the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as stated in the Vedanta Sutra, is the source of all emanations, that conception is explained. So we can understand this whole with a very gross example. Let's say a group of 10 people, they decide to go on a tour. So they have made a plan. We'll go to, from Mumbai, we'll fly to, let's say, Dubai, and we'll stay in Dubai for 5 days. Then from Dubai, we'll go to London, and they will stay for 2 weeks. And from London, we'll go to New York. They will spend another 2 weeks. From there, we'll go to Toronto. They'll spend some days. Then we'll go to Tokyo, and then we'll go to Australia, and then from Australia we come back to India. So let's say there's a 2 months tour planned by a group of 10 people. Now, during the tour, if one of these 10 desires something different from what the group is desiring, they say our trip to Dubai was only for 5 days. Now 5 days are over. Let's go catch the flight to London. And then this person says, no, I want to stay in Dubai for longer time. I like Dubai very much. So what will happen? What will happen? Those remaining 9 will drop him. Okay, you stay in Dubai, we go ahead. Isn't it? They will drop him. Hmm? So this person, he became separated or disconnected from the group. For what reason?
Dubai.
What was the reason?
Dubai.
What was the reason? The reason was his
Desire.
independent desire.
Independent desire.
A desire which is different from the desire of the other 9 people. Correct? Isn't it? So the cause of separation is a desire other than their desire. So it's the same thing that applies here. If I want to be with Krishna, my desire should match whose desire? Krishna's desire. If I desire something else, so Krishna says, okay, I move on. I have my plans. You have your plans. And these two plans don't match. So you do your things, I'll do my things. So those who are residents of spiritual world, they're always in unison with Krishna because they don't have separate plans. Okay, Krishna, this is your plan. This is also our plan. No problem. No change. But the living entities in material world, they have their own plans. Krishna's plan is this, my plan is this. In fact, we'll not only say to Krishna that Krishna, I'll not do your plan. We'll also say to Krishna, Krishna, support me in my plan. Right? Forget about your plan. Support me in my plan. Because I have a plan. And you should help me doing what I want to do. Isn't it? So then how can that person will be united with Krishna? Because I like this statement very much of he was the president of United States, Abraham Lincoln, very famous personality. So he wrote a very nice statement, wonderful statement. In America, they have this slogan. Even in the currency note, they print it. God is with us. Right? They say this. God is with us. So Abraham Lincoln, he was a great thinker actually, very great thinker. So he said, we have to change this statement. And it's very interesting update or edit he did to the statement. He said, it's not very important if God is with us. What is more important is, are you with God? Right? And that's the whole idea here. So, what should be my prayer? This is something which is very important if you want to understand bhakti. What should be my prayer? Not go to Krishna and tell Krishna, this is my plan, that is my plan, do this for me, do that for me. I wish this should happen. Can you please help me? Can you please speed it up? This is happening too slow. Rather than that, we should go to Krishna and ask Krishna, Prabhu, what is your plan? And how can I be an instrument in your plan? What should I do for you? When our prayer transforms from the previous category to this second category, then we are a bhakta. Otherwise, we are not a bhakta. We are a karmi, materialistic person. Because we are only asking for something from Krishna. Isn't it? But our prayer should be what? I have already done so many things on my own in this whole life. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. I have lived my life the way I wanted to live. right? So I'm done with it now. I've experienced life the way I wanted to experience. I tried my own ways of doing things. I tried. So now I want to change. And what is that change? That remaining period of time which is there in my life, whatever it may be, now I want to live it the way you want it, not the way I want it. Now I want to change my approach towards life. So, Bhagavan, Prabhu, you should help me now understanding how, what is your plan and how can I be a part of it? So, when this kind of prayer, it comes in the heart of a jiva, actually that jiva becomes fortunate. And then that jiva can get pure bhakti. Then that's the actual fortune which has come. Because now that whole approach has changed. Instead of Krishna, my plans, my plans, my plans. No, now your plan. That's what Arjuna said. No, karishye vachanam tava. Now I'll do what you say. And this surrender, please try to understand. This surrender is not something which you have to show to others that I am very surrendered to Bhagavan. No, this is something which is in your own heart and you know how much you are surrendered. How much you are surrendered. That's very, very, that quality is the most precious quality a human being can have, to have that kind of surrender. What is your plan? And I want to support. And our beloved Srila Prabhupada was like that actually. Whenever he met his spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he never asked Bhakti Siddhanta about his personal problems, about his personal things, about this and that. He hardly met him, and whenever he met him, he did not ask him any other question. He only asked him one question. And Srila Prabhupada mentions this. I asked my Guru Maharaj, whatever number of times I met him, I only asked him one question. And what was that one question? What can I do for you? How can I serve you? That's the only thing he asked. How can I serve you? What can I do for you? What is your plan? Not what my plan is, what is your plan? So that is what bhakti is. What is Krishna's plan? So this is very different to the other mentality, right? You go to a sadhu and we say, please bless me. I want this. I want that. I want this thing in my life. If you give me some blessing, this will happen. That will happen. That is not then bhakti, right? That is different. That is normal dharma, some sense of piety. But bhakti is this, that we agree to Krishna's plan. And for that, we should know Krishna's plan. Right? So Krishna will help us understand. So those who are in spiritual world, they are always revolving around Krishna's plans. And those who are in material world, they have their own plans. And because they have their own plans, so I have my plan, you have your plan, someone else has his or her plan. So there'll be always a conflict, a clash. So there'll not be any peace, any unity. There'll be fights, quarrels, disagreements, conflicts. And that happens, what to speak of outside, it happens within the family also. Correct? Father has one plan, mother has another, grandfather, grandmother another, kids have another, isn't it? So then different plans, then conflicts, then we have to compromise. Okay, 20% your plan, 20% my plan. And move on like that. Fine. So that's what makes the difference. Krishna Prabhupada says, they are all agreeable to the purpose of creation. That is oneness. Oneness in spirit. Oneness in spirit. So how can we cultivate this oneness? Chalo, we are very far from becoming one in spirit with Krishna. That is a extremely, far goal to achieve. But as a sadhaka, now from my stage, how will I cultivate this oneness in spirit? How will I practice it?
Understanding that whatever Krishna does for us would be best. So better he do for us. We will ask wrong only.
And that is correct. And what else? How will you otherwise practice it? So how you'll practice it? You agree to the Acharya's plan. You agree to the spiritual master's plan. You agree to the plan of devotees who are better than you, and you cooperate with them. That's how we'll practice at our level, you know. That's how we'll practice. Because Krishna is far away from us now. So we will not know what Krishna's plan is. But we can certainly know what is the plan of Srila Prabhupada. We can certainly know what is the plan of the sincere followers of Srila Prabhupada. What is the plan of the sincere followers of the followers of Srila Prabhupada? What is the plan of those devotees who are superior to us in Krishna consciousness? And our duty remains what? In whatever way, whether I'm a grihastha, brahmachari, man, woman, married, single, miserable, happy, this, that, how can I cooperate with their plans? How can I support them in their plans? Hmm? See, if we can start from there, then it's a good start in bhakti. Mhm. Krishna is far from us now at present, but these are close to us. Hmm? So we need to support. Therefore, when we do seva or book distribution, this has to be done with this understanding. Srila Prabhupada has this desire, he has this plan that people of this world should get transcendental scriptures, literatures to read. So these books should be distributed. So I support Srila Prabhupada in his mission. I cooperate with him. You know, I just gave an example like that. There can be so many things. So the spirit of cooperation is something which we have to practice, cultivate. And then this cooperation will one day become so mature that will become fit to also follow Krishna's plans. Otherwise, it's very difficult to dance at the tune of Krishna. It's not easy. It's very difficult to dance at the tune of a conditioned soul. So imagine how difficult it will be to dance at the tune of Krishna. It's not easy. For that, one needs to practice dancing at the tune of Krishna. Which means what? Like Krishna says, okay, now you sit, you sit. Krishna says, now you stand. Now you sleep, you sleep. Now you jump, you jump. That's called perfect. That's how it is, isn't it? If it's a dance choreographed with 10, 20 people dancing together, every single moment is choreographed, no? Every single second. And they have to exactly follow the direction. Correct? Isn't it? So similarly, Krishna's Leela means every single moment is choreographed the way it should be. And I have to be so obedient, so submissive that I exactly play my role the way it is given to me. Then I'm accepted there. Otherwise, no. Otherwise, it will not be accepted. Right? So this drama thing is a very good example to compare it with Leela. In a drama, in a theater, let's say you are given the role of a maid servant, and someone has gotten the role of queen. Now, during the drama, the show, if the maid servant starts thinking, why should the queen steal the show? I also want to get some attention. And then she goes out of the script to do things which was not part of the plan. Then what will happen? Next time, she'll not be a part of the drama. She'll not be a part of the show. Isn't it? Correct? So that's how Krishna's Leela is. Everything is organized, directed. Vrinda Devi is there, Yogamaya, they are the directors. This is your job, this is what you're supposed to do. This is when you enter the scene. This is when you exit the scene. For that, you have to be very, very obedient and submissive. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I follow what you say. Right. But if that's not there, then not a part of the drama. Next verse, next paragraph. According to the statement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, there are two classes of living entities. The Vedas give evidence to this, so there is no doubt about it. The living entities who are struggling in this world with the mind and five senses have the material bodies which are changing. As long as a living entity is conditioned, his body changes due to contact with matter. Matter is changing, so the living entity appears to be changing. But in the spiritual world, the body is not made of matter. Therefore, there is no change. In the material world, the living entity undergoes six changes: birth, growth, duration, reproduction, then winning and vanishing. These are the changes of the material body. But in the spiritual world, the body does not change. There's no old age, there's no birth, there's no death. And this is true, huh? When Nand Baba and Yashoda Mai, they were quite old and still they had not gotten a baby. So they only look old, but they were not old. They had the strength and energy of a young person only. So that's how the spiritual world is. Like you may have the character of a father. That's why you may have a white beard. But but having a white beard doesn't mean that you'll be actually old. You will be like a youth only, having all the strength, having all the charisma and everything of a young man. So just like people they dress up, isn't it? A young man may dress up as an old man in a theater, but he is still a young man. So similarly in spiritual world, everyone is young, ever young. The father is also young, the son is also young, the the grandson is also young, the grandson is also young. Everyone's same. They look different, but there's no old age, nothing. They all exist in oneness. Shara Sarvani Bhutani. Any living entity who has come in contact with matter, beginning from the first created being, Brahma, down to a small ant, is changing its body. Therefore, they are all fallible. In the spiritual world, however, they are always liberated in oneness. Uttamaha purushastvanyah paramatmeti udahritah yulokatrayam avishya bibhartyavyaya ishvaraha. Besides these two, there is the greatest living entity, the Supreme Soul. So now there are fallible living entities, infallible living entities. But beyond them, there is a super soul, the imperishable Lord himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them. So there is one who is maintained. Both the living entities in material world are maintained by Krishna. Those in the spiritual world are also maintained by Krishna. They are still living entities. But beyond these living entities, then there is the super soul, the Paramatma, who is the maintainer. And then is there someone beyond the Paramatma? Yes, there is the source of Paramatma, who is Bhagavan Swayam Krishna. So he is the supreme most person, Purushottama, the highest personality. That's why you call him as supreme personality of Godhead. What does this mean? There are many personalities of Godhead. In the Godhead, there are many personalities. But who is Krishna? Amongst all those personalities of Godhead, he is the supreme personality of God. The supreme Bhagavan. Purport. Let's read the purport. Amrita Vilasini Madhaji, please.
The ideas, right? 1 second. Yeah. The ideas of this verse very nicely expressed in the Katha Upanishad 2.213 and the Svetasvatara Upanishad 6.13. It is clearly stated there that above the in numbers living entities, some of whom are conditioned and some of whom are liberated. There is the Supreme Personality, who is Paramatma. The Upanishad verse runs as follows: Nitya nitya nan nitya nityanam chetanas chetananam. The purport is that amongst all the living entities, both conditioned and liberated, there is one supreme living personality, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who maintains them and gives them all the facilities of enjoyment according to different work. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. A wise man who can understand him is eligible and eligible and to attain perfect peace, not others. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Next. Yasmat Sharamatitoham Aksharaadapi Chottamaha Tosmi Loke Vede Cha Prathitaha Purushottamaha. Because I am transcendental beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that supreme person. So he says, I am that supreme person, the highest personality. Purport. Chanakya Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. No one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, neither the conditioned soul nor the liberated soul. He is therefore the greatest of personalities. Now it is clear here that the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are individuals. The difference is that the living entities, either in the conditioned state or in the liberated state, cannot surpass in quantity the inconceivable potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is incorrect to think of the Supreme Lord and the living entities as being on the same level or equal in all respects. There is always the question of superiority and inferiority between their personalities. The word Uttama is very significant. No one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word Loke signifies in the Paurusha Agama, the Smriti scriptures, as confirmed in the Nirukti dictionary, Lokyate Vedartho Anena. The purpose of the Vedas is explained by the Smriti scriptures. The Supreme Lord, in his localized aspect of Paramatma, is also described in the Vedas themselves. The following verse appears in the Vedas, Chandogya Upanishad 8.12.3. Tavad esha samprasado asmat charirat samuttaya param jyoti rupam sampadya swena rupena binnispadyate sa uttamaha purushaha. The super soul coming out of the body enters the impersonal Brahma Jyotir, then in his form he remains in a spiritual identity. That supreme is called the Supreme Personality. This means that the Supreme Personality is exhibiting and diffusing his spiritual effulgence, which is the ultimate illumination. That Supreme Personality also has a localized aspect as Paramatma. By incarnating himself as the son of Satyavati and Parashara, he explains the Vedic knowledge as Vyasadeva. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Next. Verse. Yoma evam sammudo janati purushottamam sarvavid bhajati mam sarvabhavena bharata. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. So this kind of verse with a similar translation has come before also. Can you recall which verse was that? Hmm? A verse like this also has come. One who knows that I am the Supreme Lord, he engages in devotional service. It's not clicking. I'll tell you a very interesting fact. You memorized also that verse for Bhakti-sastri Unit 2 exam. It's one of those verses. So you memorized it and you might have spoken also in the exam. aham sarvasya prabhaha mattah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. One who knows me as the source of everything, he engages in devotional service. Right? Similarly, here he says, one who knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he engages in full devotional service to me. Buddha bhava samanvita. Right? Similar conclusion. There also, here also. That if someone knows Krishna properly. So this is true actually. If we actually understand Krishna, then we'll not be doing anything but bhakti. If we really understand who Krishna is, then we'll not do anything in life other than bhakti. Everything will be bhakti. We'll know uh, who Krishna is, how powerful he is, who I am. Why am I dependent on Krishna? So as long as this understanding not there, then I will do many things other than bhakti also. But when this understanding will come, it's called sambandha gyan, to understand very nicely who am I, who is Krishna, what is my relationship. Then you will not do anything but bhakti because you'll not be inspired to do anything else. You'll be only inspired to do bhakti. Everything else you'll see as waste of time. It's not that someone has to tell you it's waste of time. You will feel like that it's waste of time. What am I doing? Why am I doing? What am I going to get out of it? Isn't it? So that will come to one's intelligence, and then one will do bhakti. Now, doing bhakti doesn't mean that you'll just sit at home and do nothing. Doing bhakti means everything you do, it's done with the spirit of devotion and service to Krishna. So even if there are responsibilities to carry out, yeah, you will carry out those responsibilities, but your heart will be always in Krishna consciousness. That will be there. So that is the test here. If you understand Krishna properly, then you can't stay away from him. That's the thing. Purport. Let's read. There are many philosophical speculations about the constitutional position of the living entities in the Supreme Absolute Truth. Now, in this verse, the Supreme Personality of God, it clearly explains that anyone who knows Lord Krishna to be the Supreme Person is actually the knower of everything. The imperfect knower goes on simply speculating about the absolute truth, but the perfect knower, without wasting his valuable time, engages directly in Krishna consciousness, the devotional service of the Lord. Throughout the whole of Bhagavad-Gita, this fact is being stressed at every step. And there are so many stubborn commentators on Bhagavad-Gita who consider the supreme absolute truth and the living entities to be one and the same. Vedic knowledge is called Shruti, learning by oral reception. One should actually receive the Vedic message from authorities like Krishna and his representatives. Here, Krishna distinguishes everything very nicely, and one should hear from this source. Simply to hear like hogs is not sufficient. One must be able to understand from the authorities. It is not that one should simply speculate academically. One should submissively hear from Bhagavad Gita that these living entities are always subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who is able to understand this, according to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, knows the purpose of the Vedas. No one else knows the purpose of the Vedas. The word bhajati is very significant. In many places, the word bhajati is expressed in relationship with the service of the Supreme Lord. If a person is engaged in full Krishna consciousness in the devotional service of the Lord, it is to be understood that he has understood all the Vedic knowledge. In the Vaishnava Parampara, it is said that if one is engaged in the devotional service of Krishna, then there is no need for any other spiritual process for understanding the Supreme Absolute Truth. He has already come to the point because he is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. He has ended all preliminary processes of understanding. But if anyone, after speculating for hundreds of thousands of lives, does not come to the point that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God, and one has to surrender there, All speculation for so many years in life is a useless waste of time. 20. Iti guhya tamam shastram idam uktam maya naga. Etad buddhva buddhiman syat kritakrityascha bharata. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is now disclosed by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. So whoever understands this much will become wise, that Krishna is all in all, the Supreme Personality of God. Sankarshan Vishnu.
Should I read? Reading? Should I read?
Yes, Prabhuji, read please.
19, no?
20, you can see on the screen.
The Lord clearly explains that there is the substance of all revealed scriptures, and one should understand this as the given by the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. Thus, one will become intelligent and perfect in transcendental knowledge. In other words, by understanding this philosophy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engaging in His transcendental service, everyone can become freed from all contaminations of the modes of material nature. Devotional service is a process of spiritual understanding. Where our devotional service exists, the material contamination cannot coexist. Devotional service to the Lord and the Lord Himself are one and the same because they are spiritual. Devotional service takes place within internal energy of the Supreme Lord. The Lord is said to be the sun, and ignorance is called darkness. Where the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Therefore, whenever devotional service is present under the proper guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, there is no question of ignorance. Everyone must take in this consequences of Krishna and engage in devotional service to become intelligent and purified. Unless one comes to the position of understanding Krishna and engages in devotional service, however intelligent he may be in estimation of some common man, he is not perfect intelligent. The word anaga by which Arjun is addressed is significant. Anag, O sinless one, means that unless one is free from all sinful reactions, it is very difficult to understand Krishna. One has to become free from all contaminations, all sinful activities, then he can understand. But devotional service is so pure and potent that once one is engaged in devotional service, he automatically comes to the stage of sinlessness. While one is performing devotional service in the association of pure devotion, the pure devotees in full Krishna consciousness, there are certain things which require to be vanquished altogether. The most important thing, one has to surmount the weakness of the heart. The first fall down is caused by the desire to lord all over material nature. Thus, one gives up the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. The second weakness of the heart is that as one increases the propensity to lord it over nature, he becomes attached to matter and the possession of matter. The problems of material existence are due to these weaknesses of the heart. In this chapter, the first 5 verses describe the process of freeing oneself from these weaknesses and heart, and the rest of the chapter from the sixth verse through the end discusses Purushotama Yoga. This and the the purports of the 15th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad-Gita in the matter of Purushotama Yoga, Yoga of Supreme Person.
Okay, so we end here. Any questions or comments? The chapter is over.
Prabhuji, weakness of heart and mind is same. Weakness of mind or weakness of heart is same.
Well, weakness of heart basically means that my resolve is not very strong in bhakti because my heart is full of material desires. Material desires, they make the heart weak, which means the determination that I should have in bhakti, that determination does not come, because of having material desires. So that is the meaning of weakness of heart.
The same is weakness of mind.
Huh?
Weakness of mind is also same, that is.
Weakness of mind, yes, it can. You can see it in that way, but actually, heart is a word used mainly for chitta. Chitta and mind are not the same. Technically, there is a difference.
Prabhuji, how much, like I want to ask, you said the bhakti which Brajvasis has in their heart, that is like pure bhakti, is pure bhakti.
Huh? Sorry?
Bhakti, bhakti which Brajvasis
Hmm.
has in their heart is pure bhakti.
Yeah. So,
So I have listened, they have done lot of tapasya to reach there.
hmm.
So what is that pure bhakti? And mm,
Well, that's not the subject of our discussion today. We'll discuss it some other day. What is Rajavasis heart? Let's go to, we'll discuss it some
Prabhuji,
other day. Hmm.
Prabhuji, in this OBA
Not
of
a
Unit
small
3,
subject, no? It's not a small subject. Yes, next
Prabhuji,
question.
in this
Ah,
unit OBA 3, we have to write 2 essays out of 4.
yeah.
Okay,
In all the units, you have to write 2 essays.
okay, okay.
What about the pranam months? We have to learn 3 or 5 in the third
What?
semester. Pranam mantras. We have to
Pranam
learn three,
mantra, I sent how many? 5, right? In the group?
but three uh, in material you have said 3, but given
Huh?
5. 3 or 5.
Sorry, I didn't understand. What are you saying, Prabhu?
In reading material, you have written
Forget
somewhere
about the reading material. I have
studies
sent you links of pranam mantras to memorize now.
3,
I've sent you 5 links.
5 links, but
You memorize all those 5. I've sent 5, right?
send 5, but written 3 all.
Where written 3? It's third pranam mantra with
As
the
a
exam.
as a third pranam mantra, like
2
you.
exams you have done, right? So this is the third one. Any other question?